everything that keeps coming out, both in the Washington Police Department, Pullman Police Department, everything that we've seen as it relates to the Idaho State Police, everybody that came in contact with this guy just thought he was weird and creepy. So there was another article that we found when we were doing our case prep, and this was from the New York Post, and it says it's authored by a gentleman by the name of Brad Pierce. And it says, my small town beer buddy vented about his creepy teaching assistant all semester. It turned out it was Bryan Kohberger. So it's just not worth just talking about it. I think to truly do this article justice, we just got to read it verbatim because I think it just shows you how weird this guy was and is. And everybody who met him was like creeped out by him. And I think that's interesting because there's so many people that support him that I wonder if they met him, if they'd still have the same, I don't know, fascination, intrigue by him. So John Schneider is a kindly older man who lives in a small town. He's what you'd consider a normal person, a married homeowner who teaches at the local university. He'd been a public defender for almost 30 years when he took the opportunity to teach students about the legal system instead of defending them in it, feeling he was nearing burnout in a demanding profession. I've come to know John pretty well over the years, not just because we live in the same town. My wife, Alexis, is his favorite bartender, and he likes going out for dinner with his wife or having a beer after work as much as the next guy. But there was a marked theme on John's happy hour conversation in fall of 2022. His teaching assistant at the Washington State University Criminal Justice and Criminology Department was an a-hole who was driving him crazy. Normal after work grumblings, one might think, even in a high quantity. The life is your peaceful region that was interrupted in November of 2022 when 4 University of Idaho students were brutally murdered 20 minutes away. After the new year, John came into the bar carrying a newspaper and looking bad enough that my wife said, "What's wrong? You look like shit." John held up a paper and confirmed that what was suspected after the arrest. His teaching assistant was Bryan Kohberger. And John Schneider has avoided the media since Kohberger's arrest, but due to our friendship, he agreed to meet at the Palouse Caboose Bar and Grill, where my wife is a bartender, for some pitchers of beer and his first and probably only in-depth interview about supervising Bryan Kohberger. Now, John graduated from the University of Idaho School of Law in 1988 and began working as a public defender. His specialization throughout his legal career, saying criminals are more honest and easier to work with than most people going through a divorce. I would agree. He was also attracted to the field by his sense of justice and a desire to see people who may have disadvantages within society treated fairly by the legal system. Noble. And something of a troublemaker himself, his skill at pool paid his bar tabs all through law school. He could imagine being caught making some of the same mistakes as his clients. He occasionally dealt with homicides and other serious crimes, but in a college town, it's mostly young people screwing up. John doesn't feel this career was giving him any greater ability to sense evil than the average person. As a professor, John had a high volume of students and couldn't get to know many of them very well. Teaching assistants are different, and in normal circumstances, one works with them extensively. It used to be that professors chose preferred potential TAs from a list, but for a reason he's never discovered, the school abandoned this system and randomized the process, which is how he was assigned to Coberger. When the graduate student came to introduce himself in early summer 2022, John didn't think much of him. He was a little odd, but a lot of people in academia are odd. Despite the TA's assignment system being designed to prevent this exact problem, Coberger had a scheduling conflict and thus limited attendance in class, though he also often didn't show up when he was available. The infrequency of his class appearances didn't stop one female student from emailing a friend near the semester start saying, "My class TA looks like a murderer." John says he tries to look at TA's individual attributes and put them to work where they will be the most useful while training them on their weaker points. In this instance, however, Bryan quickly dissuaded me of the idea that I would get a sufficient amount of work out of him, and I quickly figured out he was just, well, a douche. And within a few weeks, I realized this was going to be an exceptionally long semester. Despite Coberger missing class, the professor saw him plenty. He rapidly developed a habit of coming in at the end of the day when I clearly wanted to go home, he says. He would start talking about inane, stupid, and immature things. I quickly realized that this was a technique where he felt like he was in control as long as he was wasting my time. Kohberger once tried to tell him how he was going to get out of a parking ticket, even managing to get him to examine the scene. It turned out the TA parked next to a yellow curb in a lot where he didn't have a permit anyway. Admonitions that in his experience as a defense attorney, people who believe they know the law better than the courts are always wrong fell on deaf ears. John says that over time, Coberger would follow me down the hall yapping, and I started calling it his terrier routine. When John's wife was waiting in the car once, she saw Coberger following him and recoiled nearly to the other side, a reaction he'd never seen from her in so many years of marriage. Snyder had grown to hate Coberger over the course of the semester, but never thought he was dangerous. He actually considered him a wimp. He learned of Coberger's arrest along with everyone else. He was in the office December 30th in a nearly empty building when the custodian told him the police had the basement sealed off. They ended up walking to a picture board of department members, and the custodian started pointing at photos speculating whose office the police might be searching. When the custodian got to Coberger, it hit him. His teaching assistant was the murderer. Then his phone rang. His brother-in-law told him Coberger had been arrested. That call was interrupted by his son calling, which was interrupted by the Moscow, Idaho police calling to set up an immediate interview. He drove to Moscow instead of waiting around for them to show up. From the police, he learned Coberger had a list of women's names of unknown purpose, though surely not anything good, and one of them was a woman he knew from the department, but overall he wasn't able to greatly help them besides describing Kohberger's character. Having worked with a mass murder was a system shock for John, even if he always disliked the guy. The University Standards Trauma Assistant Program proved unhelpful. The support hotline he called listed every imaginable identity group besides his own, old white men, and then said it could set an appointment in 2 weeks. But he says that the stream of graduate students and undergrads coming into his office to offer support was one of the coolest things he'd ever experienced. The department chair also transferred his own excellent teaching assistant to John for the next semester to ease his workload, and so there would be no more surprises. John says the reality of the crime isn't what bothers him. It is instead someone studying criminology to become a better criminal instead of to pursue justice. It was the assault on why I do what I do. Promote justice and fairness, to find honor where there isn't any, to teach people to be decent human beings and to realize that life goes on, and to let people who had not experienced respect from the system know that the power to move past their troubles is inside them. I like that. Most of the people he worked with throughout his career were in bad circumstances and needed help out of the abyss, while Coberger chose to dive into it. Though this may be over for the public, for those affected, it will never go away, and a feeling of safety is slow to return when you learn you've been in close contact with a monster. This coming year is likely to be Snyder's last year spent teaching, not just because of Coberger. He has been working to make a more just society since 1998 and is tired. Let's hope some of the students he taught over the last 10 years can pick up the torch and none of them turn out to be the next Bryan Kohberger. As for his former TA, it is John's belief that being both extremely irritating and physically weak, he won't survive to the end of his natural life in prison. So I just thought that was an interesting article. I thought it was just worthy to read it and make sure that Brad Pierce got the credit that he deserved, as well as John Snyder. Now, I think John Snyder says it well. I don't think Bryan Kohberger will survive it either. But what I think is interesting is that this guy, public defender, usually can try to find the good in just about everybody, right? Didn't like the guy, referred to him as an a-hole, a douche. Nobody likes this guy. He's just that one guy that everybody hates, can't get along with everybody, and everybody looking back was like, oh yeah, it all makes sense now. It all makes sense now. It's just going to keep coming, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, so many signs. Obviously, we don't go arrest people before they commit crimes, but everybody had that feeling that this is the one guy that they needed to look out for. Police have recently disclosed over 350 crime scene photographs from the University of Idaho student murders, with additional materials anticipated to be made public in the near future. Among these images from the Idaho police are depictions of the partially consumed meal ordered by Zaina Kernodle, the 20-year-old student, shortly before her death at the hands of Bryan Kohberger on November 13th of 2022. The photographs indicate that Kernodle was consuming her DoorDash delivery from Jack in the Box in the kitchen during the early morning hours when she became aware of an intruder in the residence. Now, according to statements from the Idaho State Police, Lieutenant Darren Gilbertson, investigators persist that Kernodle retrieved the delivery from the front door and proceeded to the kitchen. While eating, she likely detected unusual noises from the third floor above. Upon going up the stairs to investigate, Kernodle is believed to have encountered Coberger in the bedroom of one of her roommates. She then attempted to escape, prompting Coberger to pursue her downstairs, during which he reportedly discarded his knife sheath. Now, court documents note that the surviving roommates, Dylan Mortensen, overheard a male voice stating, "It's okay, I'm here to help you," around this time. Coberger allegedly overtook Kernodle at the entrance to her bedroom, where blood splatter evidence suggests the assault commenced. One unresolved aspect of the case involves the precise moment of Kohberger's entry into the home and Kernodle's location at that juncture. Now, timeline details reveal that the DoorDash order was placed outside the front door at 3:59 a.m., followed by Kohberger parking his vehicle in the nearby lot at 4:06 a.m., and records further show Kernodle browsing TikTok on her phone until 4:12 a.m. Mortensen reported hearing indications of an intruder in the home around this period, accompanied by footsteps between the second and third floors. Now, the victims include Kaylee Gonsalves, Madison Mogan, both 21, who were killed in Mogan's third floor bedroom. Kernodle sustained over 50 stab wounds after being pursued, while her boyfriend Ethan Chapin, who was 20, was fatally attacked in his sleep, rendering him unable to assist. Now, surveillance audio from a camera approximately 50 feet from the residence captured sounds of whimpering and a loud thud at 4:17 a.m. And by 4:20 a.m., Kohberger was observed departing the area at a high speed in his car. Now, the released images, which do not depict the victims in their bedrooms, focus on the kitchen area, and they show a Jack-in-the-Box bag on a table amid assorted items, including unwashed dishes, an open container of orange juice, and red plastic cups. A prominent sticker on the bag reads, "Order prepared for Zaina." Nearby are scattered food wrappers and a partially eating serving of French fries on the counter, likely being consumed by Kernodle before she investigates what was taking place in the upstairs disturbance. Obviously, as more evidence released, further details about the case are going to emerge. Next on the docket. So police allege that the California infant was slain up to 9 days prior to the fabricated abduction report. That's right. Prosecutors have disclosed alarming details in the investigation into the death of 7-month-old Emmanuel Haro, asserting that the infant may have been deceased for as long as 9 days before the mothers reported a staged kidnapping. Now, the child's parents, who are facing murder charges, made their initial court appearances on Tuesday amid an ongoing search of the boy's remains. Court records indicate that Emmanuel is believed to have been killed between August 5th and August 14th of this year, and on the latter date, his mother, Rebecca Haro, contacted police to claim that an unknown assailant had attacked her and abducted the infant from their vehicle in the parking lot of the Big Five sporting goods store in Yacapaya, California. She described the incident as occurring while she was changing the child's diaper. Now, law enforcement officials quickly identified discrepancies in the accounts provided by Rebecca and her husband, Jake Haro, and the couple ceased cooperating with the investigation and engaged legal counsel, prompting a shift in the probe from a missing child, to possible homicide inquiry. Anyway, evidence suggests no kidnapping occurred in the city, stated the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department in a press release last Friday. They said it is their belief that Emmanuel is deceased and efforts to locate his remains continue. Well, the parents were apprehended during a search of their residence on August 22nd and charged with murder involving malice aforethought, as well as filing a false police report. Now, Jake Haro's vehicle was impounded as potential evidence 3 days earlier, And surveillance footage and witness statements revealed that Rebecca Haro had visited the same store the day leading up to the reported abduction, inquiring about external security cameras and alleging a prior vehicle break-in in the parking area. 2 days following their arrest, Jake Haro was observed in an orange inmate uniform accompanying authorities in the search operations along a remote stretch of highway in Moreno Valley. Despite these efforts, Emmanuel's body has not been recovered. The Haros, who also share a 2-year-old daughter, appeared in the Riverside County Superior Court on the 26th without private counsel. Their previously retained attorney did not attend, leading to the assignment of a public defender. No pleas were entered, and the arraignment is set for September 4th, when separate legal representation is anticipated, also known as public defender, and then private counsel for the other party. Can you believe it? They lied? Oh my gosh. Anyway, Rebecca Haro has publicly asserted her innocence, and we'll give her the presumption of innocence. And she has emphasized her desire to participate in the search of her son. In a statement to regional news outlets on Sundays, she declared, "I want to be out looking for my baby. I will not give up on my baby." She further insisted that her husband would never harm a child. Well, guess what? Jake Haro has a prior criminal record, having served a 6-month sentence for child cruelty related to an incident back in 2018. He actually was on probation at the time of this alleged offense. Additionally, Rebecca Haro's brother, James, is serving a minimum 50-year prison term for the 2017 murder of his girlfriend, which he attempted to disguise as a suicide. If convicted of murder and malice, the couple would face life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. Obviously, the investigation continues.
A shooter targets children at the Annunciation Catholic School. In a horrifying act of violence, 23-year-old Robin Westman opened fire on worshipers inside the Annunciation Catholic Church during a morning mass on Wednesday, August 27th, killing 2 children and injuring 17 others. Now, the attack, which took place at the church affiliated with the Annunciation Catholic School, has been described by police as a premeditated assault targeting vulnerable children and elderly parishioners. Now, Westman, who died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound at the scene, left behind a chilling manifesto and videos that reveal a deep fixation on mass killings and a desire to inflict maximum devastation. Now, the shooting unfolded shortly after 9 a.m. during a service marking the start of the school year. Armed with a rifle, shotgun, and a pistol, Westman approached the side of the church and fired dozens of rounds through the stained glass windows, striking children sitting in the pews. The victim included an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old who were fatally wounded, along with 14 other children and 3 adults in their 80s who sustained injuries. 6 of the injured remained in critical condition as of Thursday morning. So Police Chief Robert O'Hara confirmed that the attack is being investigated as an act of domestic terrorism and a hate crime against Catholics. Now, with the FBI is reviewing the evidence of extremist ideologies. Now, Westman, born Robert Paul Westman, and legally changing her name to Robert M. Westman back in 2020, identifies as a transgender woman. Apparently, he changed her name when she was 17 with the mother's consent, who said that the minor identified as a female and wanted to be known as such. Anyway, she had deep ties to the church. Apparently raised in a nearby suburban neighborhood, Westman attended the Annunciation Catholic School, graduated in 2017, and her mother, Mary Westman, served as a parish secretary until retiring in 2021. So despite this personal connection, Westman's actions demonstrated a profound hatred, as evidenced by anti-Christian symbols in her preparatory materials, including an image of Jesus used as a shooting target and phrases like, "Where's your God now?" inscribed on the weapons. Now, prior to the attack, Westman uploaded 2 videos to a YouTube account under her name, which were scheduled to be published and later removed by police. These videos, along with a handwritten manifesto, expressed the extent of her dangerous obsession with violence. In one nearly 20-minute video, Westman repeatedly chanted phrases like, "I can't wait to kill and kill and kill and kill," while displaying her arsenal on a mattress. Now, the weapons and the ammunition were labeled with the names of notorious mass killers, including the Christchurch mosque shooter, the Norwegian the Norwegian extremist Anders Breivik, and the Tree of Life synagogue attacker in Pittsburgh. Other inscriptions included anti-Semitic slurs such as Jew gas and 6 million wasn't enough, neo-Nazi references to events like Ruby Ridge and Waco, and messages like kill Donald Trump and Israel must fall. The videos also featured a drawing of the church's interior being stabbed with a knife, underscoring her targeted intent. Now, the manifesto consists of journal entries spanning from late May to August, further illustrating Westman's evil mindset. And she expressed admiration for school shooters who know what they are doing and planned meticulously for violence and mass death. Now, Westman cited the 2012 Sandy Hook Elementary shooting as her first exposure and favorite, revering perpetrator Adam Lanza. She displayed racist praise for Dylan Roof, the Charleston church shooter who targeted black victims, and professed a love for the awful slaughter of innocents. One entry read, "All these events and stories have only fueled a fire in me to do it right." In planning the attack, Westman noted that Annunciation as an ideal target for its, quote, easy attack form and devastating tragedy, end quote. Considering ways to maximize harm to children while avoiding parents, such as striking during recess or an event at church. A letter to her family within the manifesto apologized for the pain caused, stating, "I am sorry I did not turn out as you hoped. You did not fail me. You gave me so much. I've been corrupted by the world and learned to hate what life is. I'm tired of the pain this world gives out." Westman's premeditated actions and ideological extremism obviously highlights her profound danger to society. Legally purchasing her firearms, she amassed an arsenal and created detailed diagrams of the church, including gun parts for a Ruger Mark IV. Her fixation on glorifying past massacres, combined with explicit calls for more violence, painted a picture of someone deeply committed to causing widespread terror. There was reference to online memes, extremist symbols like Defend Equality stickers featuring a machine gun on a pride flag, and even claimed an encounter with gun rights activist Brandon Herrera, who denied any recollection and condemned the attack, further revealed a toxic blend of influences. Now, Westman herself acknowledged the wrongness of her plan, but stated, "Nothing makes me want to stop my plans," underscoring an unyielding resolve to execute the slaughter. So, as Minneapolis mourns, officials continue to probe Westman's social media and notebook for additional clues, and the community has rallied with vigils, but the scars from the calculated act of hatred rooted in the manifesto that celebrated the murder of innocents is going to linger and linger. Now, ladies and gentlemen, some people say, why did you state Mr. Westman's name? They should be known as the cowards that they are. All right? First, to go around and want to harm innocent children who are attending mass, for God's sakes. Now, if you hate life and you hate this world so much and you don't want to be here, then, they can go do what they're going to do. But why do you have to go hurt anyone? An innocent child, for God's sakes. Parents sent them to this school to get a great education. They're attending mass on the first day of school. And this nut job, and let's call him, her, whatever she is, a nut job. And she should be remembered for being the coward that she is. All right? And it's a political question. We're not getting into politics. We're getting into the facts. But coward. A coward for going after children like this, and a coward for not having the guts to say, let me face my justice. No, they want to take the easy way out, and they took their own life immediately afterwards. Coward, 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 coward. And she should be known, Mr. Robert, whatever their name is, Westman, should be known for eternity as a coward. And that's it. And by not saying their name, almost gives them credence that they're doing something okay by giving them something. No, they need to be known for the coward. Their family needs to be known for being a coward. And, I'm not big on holding other people responsible for the actions of the person that committed them. But remember all those people that wanted to go after school shooters? Did Westman parents know something? Mom, right? Maybe it's time to start using one of those unique legal theories when they go after innocent children, right? if it's good enough for what they consider to be the gun advocate person, why not for the person that is apparently a trans warrior for their cause as well? Something to think about, ladies and gentlemen, but we'll let you decide. Leave me a note in the comment.